My question goes to maybe a rather fundamental point, because the digitalization, what we're talking about here, is of course creating very new challenges for the human rights of the individual. And we have decided a long time ago that we are going to solve this challenge by empowering the individual, basically giving consent to whatever kind of violations of privacy rights an individual is exposed to. At the same time, we can now see that all those beautiful rights that, for example, the GDPR and other legal acts gave individuals are rather meaningless in practice, in a sense that anything is consented anyway, and fines are rather rarely handed out. So that makes me wonder whether with the current wave of legislation that we are dealing with, we should not make use of the opportunity to actually empower the individual to make proper use of those rights that they have, so that their consent can freely be given, that they are not bound to any other misleading actions by gatekeepers or other digital companies. So in a sense that they get the right of, and I make now a point that will not be totally new to you, looking at interoperability, so that a consumer is not bound to a certain platform or even a social media platform just because everybody else is there. But if they can be totally interoperable and have a claim to do so, there will actually be choice on what is the fairest general conditions that there are, so that the individual can be the captain in competition, not the victim of competition. This is one part. The other part is that we basically have also put the burden of implementing and enforcing those rights on the individual, which at times is overburdening the individual, so that regulatory authorities, in my eyes, should intervene a bit more. So because they are exposed to harmful business practices, which we want to tackle at the Digital Markets Act. And that not means that we should not make also use of this opportunity, that a very harmful business practice such as targeted advertising must not only be subject to consent, but for the most vulnerable in this society be totally banned, and with all possibilities that we have at stake, having a broad act like the DSA that is including all of that, but also the DMA that is tackling harmful business practices. Thank you.
On the question of rights and their implementation, maybe that's a good option to promote the Declaration on Digital Rights and Principles. And the reason why I'm really happy about this Declaration of Rights and Principles is that behind every principle there is a piece of legislation. So it's not just words, it's also something that is actually in the law. This right that you have, that we try to express in a way that is accessible and understandable, also is based in law. Of course, the next thing is to make sure that everything is then also enforced, that you do feel empowered, because as I said before, it's a good thing to know that you have rights. It's even better to be able to enforce them. And here, I think the data authorities, they're still in the process of being better and better at actually enforcing in every member state on ground what is needed here. Must admit, I'm also a bit disappointed in the market that we have not had more services based on our digital rights and digital principles, for instance, privacy by design. It is starting to come, but it's really, really slow still. One of the things I think interesting in for instance, how Apple are asking, and as long as their principle also apply to themselves, it's not a competition problem. If you want to be tracked, if people are asked a simple, understandable question, then they can relate to it. And many more people say, thank you, no. Rather than before that trying to figure out how is it that I get into my settings in order to disable tracking in this. So I think there's still a lot to be gained to make the enforcement of your rights something that is direct, tangible, doable. Both with individual, but I know that our authorities there are also still working on it. On the question of interoperability, it's one of the questions that we discuss within the framework of the trilogue of the Digital Markets Act. As said in my introduction, we think that we're in the last phase. So hopefully the Commission can, as an honest broker, enable proposals that will make the co-legislators satisfied with the provisions, but I don't think we should have the last trialogue discussion here today.